yesterday if it was actual beer that he used in the cereal. So
yes.
and he told me that it was all actual real beer that was used in the movie.
It was actual real beer that was used in the movie, and when Ryan Tochi did the tricycle race, at the end of the race he literally fell off the tricycle because he was completely fucked up.
How much drinking was actually going on when
none?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was only while the camera was rolling.
That's right. Yeah, everything off.
Everything off camera we can't talk about.
It's really funny because Bobby was the one that actually when we were watching the girls on the screen, and we're in the morning, it was Bobby that actually put the beer in the cereal that we all just got.
Yeah, it was just an idea that I had.
It was a great idea. And then, but as far as the tricycle race, it's an interesting thing. Is that, Takashi they had to, run around the track and take a beer every time you go around. But, they gave Takashi a little pill that's tried for a mentally.
That's right.
And every time you have a beer, you won't be able to feel it. Well, the prop guy said to some of the main actors, he said, well, it's a hot day and everything else, but you have a choice. You can either have soda or you can have beer. And duh! So, beer was flowing. And as we were going along, as Bobby says, man, every scene, every shot, you're really down to the real stuff. And it's a hot day, and you keep going, and by the end of the thing, if you look at the film, you see the happy face. That one, no acting. I've been trying to stay awake. Great.
I mean this as a compliment because I'm a fan of the genre, but I feel like Revenge of the Nerds is kind of an exploitation film from the era of the raunchy comedy, TNA Porky's, Bachelor Party kind of TNA comedies. I wonder, when you guys were making it, did any of you feel like it was going to be as big a hit as it was and become kind of a mainstream film, or were you more like, this is going to go to drive-ins and late-night video and I'll just take my paycheck and call it
There was
good?
no even late-night video. I mean, there was no video. I mean,
It's 1984.
You weren't thinking.
Right, no video wasn't big yet.
It was going to, open on a, transatlantic flight.
And literally, we'll remind you, the script was not
No, it
good.
really was not.
We weren't thinking, when you get a bad script, you don't think, this is going to be a great movie.
Yeah.
You're thinking, let me get my check and get the hell out.
Yeah, when you open the script and you hear this big sucking sound. That's Revenge of the Nerds.
It was unusual because of Jeff and because of you guys rehearsing. So it was like, it had this whole other feeling that you would never ever expect, which is why it was so exciting.
But even then, you weren't getting it because you're sort of doing it piecemeal. And on top of that, you're improvising. You don't get a sense of whether it's improving or not. You think that an individual scene might be funny and might work, but how it's going to look once it's all strung together is anybody's guess, so we didn't really have any idea.
We just figured if we're never going to work again, because of Revenge of the Nerds, we should have a really good time.
Oh, and we did. Oh, did we have a great
And
time.
something else, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a day, and it's funny because of the end result, but in the middle of going towards the end result, there was a day when Jeff Canoe, the director, actually shut down production and drew us all in and said, okay, you know what, this is not working. This is not working. Do you remember that day?
He took us to a restaurant called Scordado's.
Wow.
It was Scordado's. It was an Italian restaurant just outside of Tucson. We all went there, and we were told this is not working. And that's what Larry was talking
Oh,
about.
see, I didn't
Was
really.
I there?
You were there. You were there. You were all well,
Revenge of the Nerds, 1983, remember?
They didn't invite me to that because they said I was working. They said that I get paid.
Yeah, Revenge of Ogre.
You're right.
They're going to change the name of it.
Revenge of Ogre. And then when they had the first rough cut screening on the lot at 20th Century Fox, we were all there, and a rough cut back then is really rough. I mean, the sound isn't good, the picture isn't good, nothing's color corrected, so when there's a cut from one scene to the next, all the colors are off, and there was no music, and we all walked out of that screening going, oh man, we're so dead. And then they got to the final product, and they had a sneak preview in Westwood, right outside of UCLA campus. And we get to the sneak preview, and there's a line around the block. And we're like, how do they know? So we get in there, the thing was sold out. I'm sitting like third row from the front with my father, John Carradine, who's a Shakespearean actor. The movie unspools and the lights come up and I say, so what do you think, Dad? He said, it's not Shakespeare. That's when I knew we had a hit. One other question.
I just wanted to know, how do you guys feel that 15 to 20 years after the movie was such a big hit, that shows like Family Guy and stuff are using bits from your show in their comedy for today's audience?
Well, they have to find it somewhere.
Come with the classics.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's nice to feel that it's.
We feel relevant in a sense, you know. It brings it from '84 to modern day. It's kind of a.
We don't feel as old.
You know, when we do, part 5, the final chapter, we'll be riffing on Family Guy. So,
there you go.
it's going to come full circle.
Yeah.
Pay it forward, that's right. And they'll pay us back. Uh-oh, another question.
This is for Julie Montgomery. This actually goes back to the question that was asked, the one before, about this kind of was a, sort of a sex comedy as much as it was a, fish out of water story for the nerds.
Yes.
And you're like the only girl. You had a lot, did you feel a lot of pressure as the only actress on the set to kind of provide some sort of, I don't know, to fill that like sex pot role?
God, that's such a compliment.
Get caught now.
I really wanted to do the movie, but was worried about my parents seeing the movie. And I just tried to do my best each day. To live up to.
She was naked all the time.
We had a discussion last night. No.
Yes, you were. I'm sticking to it.
I thought the movie always had heart, and so that's what I was banking on, that it wasn't a sexist movie, and that I would be seen for more in the end than just.
And you were.
And we saw more.
Oh, God.
Jason.
Hey, Jason. What would pink juices do, right?
Yeah, sitting right here.
As a self-respecting child of the 80s, and a particular nerdy one at that, I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my pocket protector heart for making such a brilliant film. And I kind of have a question in two parts, although I'm very curious to know what the original story was like, the original version of the script. But I wore out my copy of Revenge of the Nerds on VHS several times. When you guys were making it, did you guys have any inkling of an idea that you would essentially become the patron saints of geek chic? The advent of Silicon Valley and the dot-com and everything else like that. You've got these figures who look like the archetypes and the people that were present in Revenge of the Nerds. And you guys feel responsible for that? You should get more residual checks. You should have copyrighted that shit earlier. I'm sorry. And then the second, so I have a question about that, if you had envisioned that. And the second part of the question was, individually, what were your favorite either experiences or scenes or something like that while on set or off set from the making of the film?
I think we'll go from Larry.
There's a couple, but I'll stick with one. There was one time we were in. I'll answer the second question first. My not the most memorable, one of the memorable experiences was every night after we finished, we would go to Bobby's room, and he's actually an excellent guitarist. He won't admit to any of that stuff, but he really was. And we would sit there and party and sing songs. And one night we decided to sing a song. I remember singing Mick Jagger's Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, song, right? So we're singing that, and then we get two visitors. Yeah, we thought they were from the school or something, And these guys are actually singing louder than everybody else in the room. You can't always get what you want. And we all think, we're looking at each other because we all think that the other person knows the guy. Curtis must know him, and I guess he must know him, but I don't know. And then at the end of the day, we realized that these guys, and we'd been here for a couple hours, partying, and the next day we found out that they had just robbed something. And they jumped into our hotel to hide. And they just sang with us for 2 hours and kicked it.
I don't remember a lot of favorite moments that involved me. When I think of the movie now and when I look at it now, I love scenes in the movie that I actually have nothing to do with. One of them is the one that I was talking about with you and Jamie, and another one is when you arrive and your mother and you say, "But I'm 12 years old. I need to be with people my own age." She says, "You can be with people your own age when you're older." I just love that scene, the two of them, and I also love a scene with Anthony and Michelle when at the end of the party when they realize they have the same prescription on their glasses.
Yeah.
Which to me, I swear to God, it gets me every time. I think it's just a lovely, which was, they improvised on the spot. And I just love that. That's all I'll say.
You cried.
I cried. But I cry at all of Don's scenes. For a different reason.
I think my favorite scene, because it's the one that's, I just laugh every time I see it, is when all those pies are being sold, and Stan Gable is trying to figure out while these pies are being sold, and Ogre's eating them as fast as he can go, and he goes, "Whoa, that's why." That's a great scene. I don't remember the first question, but it was a good one. When we were making the film, I think it was survival was like a really key element to getting through the day. Like, please,
Make
this work. I'm going to try not to suck today. I remember when we first got there, we shot the first scene kind of first, where Jamie Cromwell and me and Anthony Edwards are driving to school in the station wagon. We got the old cruise control locked on 35. Oh, what the heck? I'm going to run her on up to 38. The dailies from that, the dailies are when you show what you shot that day the next day to see if everything's all right. And I wouldn't go in the screening room where they show the dailies. I was freaked out. And I'm waiting outside for these guys to come out and report back about what they'd seen. And I think Curtis might have been the first guy out. He comes up to me and goes, "Oh man, I get it." I go, "Get what?" He said, "You're doing it real." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, that's great, man. We're doing it real." And all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, we're doing it real," because the script was written as a parody of these guys.
Over the top.
Yeah. It was so over the top. I mean, they had the robot used to roll around in scenes getting an erection. We're like, there's no heart in that. That's just sex. The robot wouldn't do that. So we rewrote the robot. I mean, we fixed every little thing every day that we could. And then the director, like Curtis said, would throw a bone to these guys and say, "Hey, you guys come up with something in 2 minutes." And I mean, every single day was like that for 2.5 months. And, well, here's the result. What is it, 30 years later? 40 years later?
No, not 40.
8 years Here it is, 2011. We shot it in 1984. We're still talking about it.
Exactly.
And keep your eyes peeled for Nerd Spy.
I think the other question was, do we feel responsible, which we obviously don't. But it's kind of funny that it's gone that way. That the nerd chic occurred, because even at the time when it first came out, it was a popular movie. It was a fun movie, but it really only took off after video and cable made it possible for it to really take off. And then suddenly, the whole point at the end of, which is another one of my favorite scenes, the last scene in the movie where Bobby gives the speech at the pep rally, which is still just a brilliant scene. And
Crying again.
yeah. And Well, I was thinking of the way Don is looking at him in that scene. And you know, that is a very poignant thing, and it's very real to this day. And I feel kind of proud about what the message was. I thought it was a good message.